All right. I think that we are live. I think that we are live. Let's double check. Let's double check. Make sure that everything is good to go. Yes. Yes. Oh, okay. Hold on one second. Looks like we're getting set up here. Looks like we're getting set up here. Get our little lighter situation going. Okay. I think that we are good to go. I think that we are good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the seventh day of Ignitemas. Ideas that ignite. One, two, three, four, five, six, and seven. I'm so thrilled to have you all here. Yo, it has been an amazing series, Ideas that Ignite series. Listen, today we have a great session for you. Oh, just wanted to share with you all also. If y'all don't believe I have seven candles, the seven candles are in here. I can't show it to you because I don't want to get wax all over my face. But trust, all seven candles are there. This has been an amazing series. Today, as we were getting ready to step into 2023, I wanted to answer the big questions that people have been having specifically around what it means to get paid as a public speaker. Get paid as a public speaker. So I'm so thrilled to have you all here today. I'm going to take off this sweater because it's starting to warm up with all of these lighters in the house. All right. So here's what I want y'all to do. If you are on Facebook, if you are on LinkedIn, you are in a great place on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, you might want to check out one of those other places, either YouTube or Facebook in the Ideas That Ignite group. Only reason because today I do have a couple of slides. And if you're checking this out on Instagram, you might not be able to see those slides. So you might want to join us over at the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group, or just hang out here and you'll be able to catch the replay. So I hope that you are ready to go because today is going to be a great session specifically around what you can do to get paid your worth as a public speaker. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into the presentation. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to do. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't introduce myself. Some of you might not know me. Hello. My name is Don Fraser. I am a storytelling and speech coach based out of San Jose, California. It is my mission in life to help people like you who are leaders, people who are innovators, people like you who are creatives to land, ignite, and to spread a TED or TEDx talk. Okay. Now, I've been doing this for the past 10 years in many different ways. I've been working with corporations like Google, corporations like Spotify, with individuals, celebrities, so, many different people from different walks of life. But right now, today, what we wanted to focus on are those of you who are interested in landing a TED or TEDx talk, or to get paid for your time and to get paid for your worth. Okay? So I hope that you all are ready for today's session. Here's the thing. Here's the very first thing that I want to start off with. Okay. Now, finding paid speaking gigs comes down to two main things. Two main things. First thing I want you to think about are people. The second thing I want you to think about are events. Okay. So people and events. Now, what exactly does this mean? When it comes to finding paid gigs, one of the very first things that we want to do is we want to look for people, that hire speakers, okay, and other speakers. Okay, so I'm going to break this down in terms of like why we break this down this particular way in just a moment. But one of the first things I want you to think about are these two divisions: people and events. Okay, so people, like those who hire speakers, and other speakers, and events that you're qualified to speak at and those that you aspire to speak at. Okay, so let's go ahead and break this down real quick in terms of first, who are the people? Who are the people that you need to speak with if you are looking to get paid speaking gigs in 2023? Okay, three main criteria. The first one, that we want to make sure that we are hiring, that we're talking to people who hire speakers as their core responsibility. People who hire speakers as their core responsibility. Okay, so in the world of colleges, that specifically is like the student affairs department, right? Or if we're looking at corporations, it's HR, it's professional development, right? It's people who actually have the pockets of money that are responsible for bringing in speakers into a system. Okay. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple of stories about how I got this all wrong when I first started it off. But I first want to share with you that yes, we want to look for those people who hire speakers as part of their core responsibility. Okay. The second type of people that we want to look for are other speakers who have had success in the industry, right? So those who have had a lot of experience, typically what they'll do is they'll post their events either on LinkedIn, shout out to LinkedIn, or they'll post events on their websites. And this is a great way to start sourcing where are those people who are in my industry, be it storytelling, be it leadership, be it motivation, be it like some type of engagement, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the environment, right? There's all these different facets of life. But where are those speakers that have actually gone out and been paid for their work? Where are they speaking at? Looking at that list oftentimes can lead to a whole bunch of uncovered gems in terms of potential places that you should be like leaning into. Okay. And the third one is those who are in your network who are warm leads. Those who are in your network who are warm leads. Okay. So I just want to rewind for a quick second to share with you how I actually came up and how I actually got to this particular formula in terms of both people and events. Okay. So back in about 2014, I was still trying to like find my way as a speaker. All right. I was putting on these events. I was going to different organizations and telling them, hey, I can speak about storytelling and leadership. That was like kind of like my main vein, right? And so there's this one day where a professor from NYU comes and he says, yo, I didn't know that this is what you spoke about. Can you come and speak to my class on entrepreneurship about what it means to actually deliver this kind of a talk? And I was like, absolutely. I was thrilled. I was thrilled to be able to have this opportunity. Okay. So I go to NYU. I do this talk. I got paid $50. I was happy with it because I could just take the subway over and take care of my business. And I came back home. Right. 2 days later, a couple days later, I was putting together, oops, for those of you who are cheating, you just probably saw what the next slide is, but that's okay. That's okay. Um, so so I put together this event called Barbershop Stories, and I invited people into a barbershop, a black barbershop in Brooklyn, and in the audience happened to be a speaking agent. Now, I mentioned to the audience, excuse me, that just a couple of days prior that I was at NYU, I was talking about entrepreneurship and storytelling and leadership. And I didn't know who was the audience, but it just so happened that the agent comes up to me afterwards and he says, you know, what you're talking about, what you're speaking about in terms of of, of leadership and storytelling, actually I could use that, like, because I work with a college in Maryland and bunch of colleges that might be interested in your content. And I was like, really? Do tell me more. Do tell me more. Lo and behold, the exact same talk that I had done at NYU at the School of Business for $50. He was like, I can take this exact same content, pitch it to them, and we'll take care of everything. I was like, okay, great. Next thing you know, he comes back to me with a contract for $5,000. $5,000. I mean, at this point in my speaking career, I had never been paid more than $100. No, like, raise your hand if you're one of these people who was just like, if you've gone out, you've spoken, you've probably gotten paid something, but you haven't gotten paid like anywhere near four figures. Okay. Just put like a me too or like a yes, that's me in the comments if you're in a similar situation. Because I was mind blown that the type of talk that I was giving was actually feasible. It was actually feasible to be translated into something that could actually be turned into, like, if I got one of these gigs a month, one gig at $5,000, that was $60,000 a year for a 45-minute presentation. Y'all feel what I'm talking about? So all of a sudden, my mind was blown. My mind was ignited. You know what I'm saying? Ignited. I was like, what is going on, people? So this is thank you. Yes, yes. So this is what I learned. Okay. First of all, when it comes down to finding the people, the right people that are going to be able to hire you within the speaking industry, it comes down to a couple of main things. In my story, the main difference between the person who hired me at NYU and the agent who hired me to go to the University of Maryland was the person that was booking the event. Okay? I hope that you have a pen and paper, but it comes down to the person that is booking the event. Okay? So one of the very, very first things that you want to do when you're looking for paid gigs is you want to make sure that the person that is booking you actually has the power to do so. Now, many people have the power to bring you into a nonprofit or to bring you into their corporation, right? But that might not necessarily be their role. Do you know that every single college, every single university has tuition? And part of that tuition budget goes towards bringing in outside speakers. Outside speakers. Okay? Got to reiterate that point because every single one of these contracts, and I didn't know about this, every single one of those contracts was for a minimum of $5,000. Okay. So in just a minute, I'm going to actually get to the figures about how much you can actually expect to charge depending on where you are in the industry, how much experience you have, and who exactly it is that you're speaking to. Okay. So we're going to get to like some hard factual numbers in just a case, in just a moment. But I just want to give you a little bit of this backstory because I started realizing that actually getting paid gigs comes down to finding the right people that actually have the money and the intent to book you. Okay. So that was the first big takeaway. It wasn't a matter of like the school, it was a matter of who was booking me. The second thing that I realized, as somebody who was into storytelling, somebody who was into leadership, somebody who loved working on college campuses, it made so much more sense for me to figure out where have other speakers who have done similar things, who have done stuff around leadership, where have they spoken? And where has paid them to speak? Okay. Because sometimes what happens is if you're looking at a college or university or a corporation, chances are they like to recycle some speakers, and then every year they like to bring in new blood or new opportunities. Okay. So if you're able to find those opportunities where people have already been paid, it's another clear sign that these are the people that actually hire these kind of speakers. Okay. And we're going to get to events in just a moment in terms of people and events. But right now, we're just breaking down who are the people that you need to get in touch with if you're looking to get paid speaking gigs. Okay. And for those of you who are on Facebook or on LinkedIn right now, those who are in your immediate network, those who are in your immediate network are warm leads, right? So I want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there, that you're letting people know I want to be able to step into my speaking potential in 2023. I want to be able to get paid for it. And chances are those warm leads, those people who already know you, who trust you, who love you, can bring you in to kind of get in those reps. Okay. Because here's the thing. If you're just starting off as a speaker, if you're just starting off, I don't want you to focus on how much money can I get paid. That's not a great mindset to be stepping into this. If you're just starting off, meaning if you've had less than 5 paid gigs, I want you to think about this as an opportunity for exposure and stage time. Okay, exposure and stage time. If you have less than 5 paid gigs, what I want you to do is use those warm leads, use those contacts, find those places where you can actually present to get those opportunities under your belt, to start showing people that, yes, I can speak on this particular topic, because that's going to be a lot more credible for people who don't know, love, and trust you already. Okay, so when it comes to the people, I want you to focus on these 3 aspects. One, those who actually hire speakers, those who are in the responsible position to hire speakers, other speakers who might be your friends, colleagues, like check out where they've spoken at, and see if those opportunities or those conferences, events might be looking for new speakers, and those who are warm leads. Okay. This is the first vein that I want you to think about when it comes to actually finding paid gigs. Okay. So far, so good. Give me a thumbs up or a fire emoji if so far we're good. So far we're good, right? Awesome. Thank you, and thank you for the shout out for barbershop stories. Yep. I I feel you. I feel you. The show was such a gem. Awesome. Okay, great. So now let's go into events. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I wanted to show you a little bit of something what happens when you find the right people. So this is actually a review. This is a review that was on my Google page from a couple of years ago, actually. What happened in my particular case was I found the right person at Google. I found somebody at Google Cloud, actually, who was looking for a speaker. Now, in my particular case, they were looking for somebody who could coach other potential speakers, so that they could kind of like build up the capacity of their female employees, of their people of color. And so I came in and I did I did a great job for this particular client. And if those of you who can see my slide right now, this was the first review from somebody, a Google employee, and it says, Dawn is an incredible storyteller and speech coach. We worked together to train Google Cloud speakers for presentation at industry events, and workshop participants gave nothing but positive reviews. Her energy and enthusiasm is perfect for a large group. Okay. Now, the reason why I wanted to show this little testimonial is because this particular Google event did not pay a ton. It didn't pay a ton. But when you get in front of the right people that are able to refer you, the ball starts to move like fire, y'all, like fire. Because what happened in my particular case is Google has now become one of my major partners. I absolutely love working with their departments, not only with Google Cloud, but now with a whole other slew of departments. And due to this one person who was the right person to bring me into Google Cloud, as a referral, things have now exploded. Okay, we have an amazing partnership, the team from Fraser's Edge and Google. So shout out to any of my Googlers out there. But I wanted you to keep in mind that finding the right person and getting a recommendation or getting a referral from them is going to just like amplify this process significantly, significantly. Okay, so that's why I wanted to show you this slide here. Okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to think about in terms of finding the gigs, this is before we even talk about them in numbers. Before we even go into the numbers, I know you all are ready to talk about some numbers, but before we go in there, I want you to first think about like, what are the events? What is that second lane of opportunities? And that lane of opportunities is an events. Okay. So for those of you who are just now joining, one of the things I just mentioned is you might consider joining us on the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group, because I have a couple of slides in today's presentation. But if you can't see the slides, no worries. Just make sure that you check us out on either Facebook, on the Ideas That Ignite group, on LinkedIn, or you can just watch the replay when you get the chance. Okay. So events. Events are going to be the next big vein of where you can find paid speaking events. Okay. Now I want to break this down once again to three main categories. The three main categories are events where your ideal contacts or buyers are in the audience. And I'm going to explain what that means. Showcases and databases for like speakers, coaches, consultants, and then conferences and associations where you're uniquely qualified to speak at. Okay, so events where your ideal or contacts are, showcases, and conferences. So I'm going to go to this next slide for just a quick second to talk about the power of events where ideal buyers are in the audience. Going back to barbershop stories, and for those of you who are in the Facebook group, thank you so much for the barbershop stories love. You might even recognize this picture that we have up on the screen. This is one of the very, very first barbershop story shows where once again, there was an agent. There was an agent in the audience who actually was able to come to my own event, right? So I was putting on my own event, bringing to people like from all different walks of life, and you never know who is going to have that impetus to say like, you know what, I need this speaker. I need this particular speaker. Okay. So one of the things that ended up happening in my case was I would speak anywhere where I thought that there might be somebody in this audience who can hire me afterwards. So for example, in addition to Barbershop Stories, which was my own show, there was every now and then I would get an invite to do like a free gig or a cheap gig, I should say, meaning less than $500. Okay. Now I did one of these at a festival, a music festival in Brooklyn, it's in Williamsburg, and they were like, "Look, you're only gonna have about 45 minutes. It's for a crowd of about 200 people, But I knew in that crowd of 200 people, there were likely going to be some decision makers, maybe some corporate recruiters, maybe some people who were actually like looking for speakers. So what I did is I put together a fun, interactive 45-minute presentation. And I said at the very end of it, I was like, look, if this is of interest to you, if this is actually something that you want to like get deeper into, and this was on storytelling and leadership, I want you to book me for your next corporate event, for your next corporate retreat, for your next professional development seminar, right? And I just have people like drop off a card or take my information from a book. Okay. Lo and behold, as soon as I got off that stage, I started getting calls. One of those calls was from Chanel. Yes, baby, 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 Chanel, the brand. And I was like, oh, excellent. Three people from Chanel were part of that audience. And sure enough, they brought me in for a gig for how much? Minimum $5,000. Okay. So sometimes I might encourage you to actually speak at an event where you know that the event itself might not be paying you a lot, but we do know that there are people in the audience that can potentially pay you. And what you want to have is a clear call to action, letting them know, like, hey, if you enjoy this, bring me into your corporate event, bring me into your retreat, bring me into your orientation. Okay, whatever that lane might be for you, I want you to think about like not all gigs need to pay, especially if you know that there are going to be people in the audience that you can convince to bring you in afterwards. Okay, y'all feeling me? Y'all feeling the fire? I need to turn these lighters around. There we go. We igniting? We igniting? We good? All right, all right. What's up, Claire? My storytelling sister, I see you. Hope you're feeling better. And you know, lots of healing vibes this season. Okay. The second place that I want y'all to think about are showcases and databases for speakers. Showcases and databases for speakers. So when it comes to like showcases, one of the things that really stood out in my speaking career were places where I could actually get in front of college students who are going to be responsible for booking speakers for the entire rest of the year. Okay. Now there was two main conferences where I was able to do this. One is called NACA, the National Association of Campus Activities, and the other one was called APCA, the Association for Professional Campus Activities. Very similar in name, but keep in mind that that was my main focus at the time. And so what happens is a lot of different universities, corporations, they have these events where basically you can go and present your story or present your topic. And from there, they literally bring in and say, okay, yes, we want to hire Dawn for our leadership retreat in April. We want to bring her in for Black History Month in February, and we want to bring her in for Women's History Month in March. Okay. So there's different showcases and events during the course of the year that actually are looking for speakers. So one of the best ways to find this is actually start doing a couple of Google searches using three main keywords. So whatever your industry is, so for me it's storytelling, plus the keyword of conference. Okay, that's the first keyword. The second keyword would be storytelling plus associations. Okay, so conferences, associations. Okay, and the third one would be databases like storytelling databases, speaker databases. And what you'll see is some are great, some are not, but these are places where other people who are buyers go to in order to find who their talent is going to be for the upcoming year. Okay, so a lot of times if you are if you're like an organizer, you will go to these databases in order to either find these people like online, or you'll go to like a live event. Okay. So you'll see that using showcases and databases is a great way to actually get your word out there that that you're a speaker. Okay. And third, but last but not least, for events, this is the event category of people and events, are those conferences and associations where you're uniquely qualified to speak at. Okay, conferences and associations. Because you know what happens when you go to a conference or an event and you do a kick-ass, lighted up job? People are going to want to bring you to more events. Okay. Now, I know that there are going to be some conferences that will never pay you to speak. They will never pay you to speak. some associations that will never pay you to speak. Once again, this comes back down to making this not only an opportunity for you to market, but also to practice and to get in front of those right people. Okay. So this is what I want you to think about in terms of finding the right people that either are qualified to hire you, or people who are ahead of you that you can like look and kind of copycat, like, their path, or these events. Okay. So far so good. So far so good. These are like the two main veins that I want you to think about. All right. So let's keep it going. So let's get into some numbers, shall we? I know y'all are here for some numbers. Let's talk about some numbers. Now, before we even get into the numbers, I want to rewind the tape for just a quick second. Okay. Before we get into the numbers, I want to rewind the tape for a quick second. This information that I'm about to present for you is for people who have some type of public speaking experience. Okay. Once again, if you're brand new to the game, what I want you to think about is getting on as many stages as possible, not for money, but for stage time and for exposure. Okay, stage time and exposure. So meaning that if you your first 5 gigs, it's going to be less than market average. It's going to be less than the market average. Market average, like for example, in college is at least 1,500 at a minimum. Okay, so I want to keep in mind that the numbers that I'm about to share with you are for people who have a little something something. And to be honest with you, it doesn't even have to be 5 unpaid gigs. I'm going to share with you the numbers of my journey in just a second, and like where when I actually started to get paid, it was after the 3rd gig. But this is a general note. Okay, this is just a general note. So here we go. So the rates, the rates. When it comes to those who are pitching and talking within the nonprofit space, nonprofit, like I'm talking small nonprofits, local nonprofits. I'm not talking about like these national nonprofits. I'm not talking about Harvard University, which is a nonprofit. I'm not talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay. I'm talking about like local nonprofits. A basic rate is going to be somewhere between $2,000 to $1,000. Somewhere between $2,000 to $1,000. Okay. Minimum. Minimum. All right. If we're looking at the education space, like the K to 12 and the college space, minimum that they pay speakers is about $1,000. Okay, but on average, most of these gigs are going to be somewhere around 5,000 if you are, you know, a decent speaker. Like you don't have to be you don't have to have a lot of social media. You don't have to have a huge following. But if you do have a message that can match what that audience needs, what that speaker or curator needs, at least 5,000. Okay. If we're looking at corporations, if we're looking at any type of corporation, right? This is when things start to bump up. Somebody who is an absolute novice in the corporate space, similar to like what I was doing for the Googles and the Spotify, just for like a 45-minute presentation, but somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000. 5 to 10,000. Okay. That is an easy ask for a novice in the corporate space. For professionals in the corporate space, we're looking more around the range of about 10 to 30,000. Okay. So for those of you who have a couple of like either professional experiences under your belt, and this is just for speaking, this isn't for necessarily for training, for workshops, or anything added on. But a baseline for many of these events is going to be between 10 to 30,000. Okay. Hello, family. Thank you for the love. Yep. Y'all feeling this? Y'all feeling the fire? I'm loving the interactions today. Thank you for all the love. So if you are a best-selling author, a B-list celebrity, and you're looking to get some paid gigs, the minimum for these is about 30,000, somewhere between 30,000 and like $70,000. Okay. And this isn't me just making things up. These are contracts that I've personally worked on, or money that I've actually physically received from being a public speaker. Okay, I'm not making this shit up. Sorry for cursing, but I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, and if you're a celebrity, most of them are 150K plus. Okay, 150,000 plus. So these are the typical rates for for what we're looking in terms of the industry. So anywhere from about 1,000 minimum at the nonprofit level. I would say most people in this particular realm are somewhere going to be between like the 1,000 to the 70,000 range. And I know that's a that's a big range. It's a huge range, right? So what I want to talk about next is what might vary, how this might vary depending on who you are in the market. Okay. So I wanted to list out these 5 things, one, two, three, these 6 things that might vary depending on might vary depending on like who you are and the market. Okay. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind is what is that market? A corporate market is going to look very different than a nonprofit market, which is going to look very different than a college market. Okay. Each one of those markets has different needs and has different price points. So the first thing that we have to keep in mind is, what market are you targeting? If you're looking to step into getting a paid public speaking gigs, I suggest you start right away with those low hanging fruit. What are those opportunities that are like right outside your window? Where are the Rotary clubs? Where are the nonprofits in your area, right? I want you to start with that, because those are the markets that are going to be familiar, that are going to want to bring you in, and they're going to pay you the rates that we just talked about. Okay. The second thing on this list is your experience. Experience, right? Going back to what I just mentioned. What up, family? Welcome. Going back to what I just mentioned, experience is going to be a key thing. If you have less than 5 paid gigs, once again, I want you to focus on stage time and exposure. But once you have that stage time and exposure, I want you to lean into the fact that you should, and you can, and you will get paid your market value, as long as you are able to articulate the value that you are bringing to an audience and a clear takeaway for your audience. Okay. So, and that leads me to the marketing material. I'm going to do a whole nother live just on is the marketing material that you need in order to prove your value in this market. Because think about it. When somebody is hiring you as a public speaker, they are hiring you before you even come to deliver the content. They're looking at your website. They're looking at your LinkedIn. They're looking at your social media, right? To make sure that they're not making a bad decision by bringing you in to be a keynote. Okay. So we want to make sure that your marketing material is on point. If you don't have great marketing material, you can't ask somebody to pay you $5, $10, $15, $25,000 as a speaker if you have a website that looks like it was put together by my dog Bella. You know what I'm saying? Okay. We want to make sure you look the part, as well as you can deliver on the part. Okay. And that all comes down to your marketing material. Okay. So that's gonna be a whole other presentation, right? But that's something to think about as well. Okay. The fourth thing to think about is, what is the audience size? What is the audience size? For every single workshop that I've done, I had needed to figure out, how many people am I serving? Because think about it, if you are an event organizer and you're serving 20 people, right? And these people are getting a high touch opportunity to really craft their story, which is what the things that I work with people on, then we want to make sure that those people are paying to have access to me, or to my content, or to my processes. Okay. If that is a room of 10,000, then the numbers start to escalate, and the numbers start to getting bigger, right? So sometimes, depending on the audience size, will play a key factor in terms of how much you can realistically ask for an engagement. Okay, giving a presentation to 5 people is not going to be the same as giving a presentation to 1,000. Okay, so audience size might play a big role in your rates. The fifth point is your deliverables. What exactly are your deliverables? What are they? Right? Is it going to be a workshop? Is it going to be a keynote? Is it going to be a speech? Now, typically, going back to the rates for just a quick second, the rates that I just presented to you are oftentimes for people who are giving keynotes, right? One of the things, though, that I did all the time during Black History Month, during Women's History Month, was I'd do a keynote plus a workshop, or I'd do a keynote plus some other type of training, since I was already on the campus. I was already at the venue, right? And so oftentimes, if you start off with a $5,000 contract, you could say, hey, you know what? I'm already on campus. I'm already at this corporation. How about we tap on an additional workshop? I'll do it for, a small core group of people, 30 minutes. and we'll add an additional 2,500 bucks. Chances are a lot of times that will be intriguing because they'll want access to you. You know, they don't want you to just kind of go to the event and then bounce out. They want to have that time afterwards to interact. And so having an opportunity to interact with you in an even smaller environment is it's a great way to like up the ante in terms of like what you're able to offer. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Is it Pam? No, it's Pat. No, it's thank you for the love on Instagram. Thank you. Okay. And if y'all are feeling this, go ahead and put, some of your takeaways into the chat. Make sure you're helping out your neighbor because we're on a couple different streams here. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on a couple different places. What's up, Pat? I see you now. What's up, Queen? All right. And so the next and the last part in terms of what determines your rates is the estimated budget. It's the estimated budget. Okay. So once again, if we're like looking at something like a college or university, colleges who have if you're going specifically to the student affairs, it is their responsibility. That is what their job is, to find people like you, people who are into diversity, equity, inclusion, people who are into leadership, people who can motivate, people who can inspire. That is their job. It's their job to find you. Okay. And they have a budget. They have a big budget to do this, right? If you're talking to a professor or a college student, they may not necessarily have that same type of budget, right? So I want you to just kind of keep these factors in mind when you're coming up with what rates I should actually, what rates you should actually be thinking about and considering when you pitch yourself, okay? So, so let me go over to, oops, let me go back. There we go. So I want to take a moment to talk specifically about why now. Why now is like such an ideal time. Whew, I'm already gonna get excited. Why now is such an ideal time if you are looking to step into this in 2023. Okay, so every time that any type of speaking event happens, it usually happens within a couple of months in advance. Okay, I'll never forget the year that my buddy Jerome decided that he was going to go all in about trying to reach as many brothers as he could, Black men. Okay. And so his strategy was like, I want to be able to speak to as many college students as I possibly can during Black History Month. Do you know that this brother came around at the end of Black History Month with $70,000 from speaking engagements from 1 month? He basically found all the colleges and universities that were in about a 50-mile radius of where he lived. He started campaigning for them now, towards the end of the year and the beginning of next year, and basically was able to show, this is what I'm able to provide, and this is why I want you to be able to bring me to this campus. Okay, I know, $70,000 within 1 month, right? So I was like, holy moly! I was like, whew. I started heating up. I'm heating up just thinking about this. That's some good water. But this is exactly what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen. If you're like looking to step into this now, is to figure out where are the markets that best need you now. So when these speakers, organizers are looking to book you, they're doing so now with the intent that, hey, this person is really going to like move the needle, really going to inspire us, really going to connect back to our culture, back to our identities. Okay. So considering you need like a 2 to 3 month ramp way, now is a great time to pitch Black History Month. Okay. Now is a great time to pitch for Women's History Month. Okay. I want you to look back over this particular presentation in terms of remembering who it is that we want to contact at the colleges, or who it is that we want to contact at the corporations. Whoops, sorry about the phone ringing in the background. Give me a second, I'm going to turn that off actually. It's a spam call. Totally forgot to turn that bad boy off during this presentation. My bad, y'all, I'm back. Okay. So I want you to rewind and keep in mind who exactly at the college or university is going to be able to bring you in and hire you at those amounts. Now here's the thing. Even if it's not the person who has who has the purse strings, who is the right person. I want you to go back to my story about Google, right? Because at first it wasn't this amazingly massively paid gig, but it was a person that could start that first little ignition point. Okay, think about the fact that this person might be able to give you a referral to that person in student affairs. Or think about the fact that this person might be able to get you some of that video content that's going to help that exposure, right? Or think about the fact that this person might be able to like, refer me to other people who can get me those ducats. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to start to put together your strategy. Who are those people who are directly right now in your network? Let's go back a couple of slides here. Let's go back to the people slides. There we go. Okay, the people who are directly in your network, okay, who can potentially either bring you to their nonprofit, to their corporation, to their business, to their association, to their conference, right? People who already know you, who are likely to bring you into their orbit so that you can start to get some exposure. Okay, any type of exposure is great. Social media exposure is great, as long as you work it well. Okay, there's a whole other thing about social media, but that's okay. Live events are great, right? So I want you to tap into those networks. Tap into your alma mater, tap into those nonprofit associations, because these are all going to be people that are going to help to start to expand this possibility of getting these paid gigs. Okay, then I want you to look for other people who you admire, people who you respect. Check out, where do they speak? Check out where those events that might need some new blood or a new perspective on a similar topic. Okay, and then of course, like, always look for those who are responsible, those core people who are responsible for booking and bringing in speakers. Okay, and then once you do that, then we know that we can look at these rates once again, between 1,000 for the nonprofit rate up to about 70,000 for B-list celebrities and some of these corporate events. Okay, so that, my friend, is basically the big picture strategy of like how we bring my face back up because I want to talk to you directly now. Okay, so this is part of the process of exactly understanding how to know how to find the right gigs and how to know your worth. If you're watching this, you probably are interested in absolutely leveraging, taking advantage of the opportunity to get on stages and actually be that voice, right? So if you are that person, if you've enjoyed these 7 days of ignitemas, then I definitely would love to hear from you. Thank you for all the interaction. This is going to be the last day of our December 2022 campaign, and also the last day for enrollment for my program, Ideas That What? Ignite. Ignite. So in my opinion, just to start to wrap this up a bit, in my opinion, one of the best ways for you to show your authority, your credibility, and the time that you have taken to actually put together a speech is to do a TED or TEDx talk. Okay, it's to do a TED or TEDx talk. And I am thrilled about the opportunities, because there are going to be so many stages. There are so many stages that are looking for speakers in 2023 now. Like my team and I were looking over the numbers. There was about 450 events that are looking for speakers already. And that doesn't include the ones that are going to continue looking for speakers and ideas, specifically, not speakers, but ideas in 2023. So if that is you, if that is something that you are interested in, I highly encourage you to check out my Ideas That Ignite program. You can check it out at ignite.donjfraser.com. It'll break down every single step that you need to not only get that ball rolling to land a TED or TEDx talk, but also to make sure that you have the assets needed, that marketing material that I was mentioning earlier, the marketing material for you to get paid. What's up, Nelly Niables? Oh yes, I'm so glad to see that you're here. So glad to see my friends on Instagram. Hello, Maureen, Patricia, Nelly, Sandrine. Oh man, I can't see you all's names over on LinkedIn and Facebook, but thank you so much for being here. I want to make sure that I leave some time for some questions or any type of thoughts, because I know that whew, today was quite a bit of information for our last day of Ignitemas. But I just really wanted to to step into today because being paid our worth as speakers, it's important. It's really important. I remember just like really struggling for years in New York, just trying to figure out how can I best serve an audience, but also get paid and also make a decent living, right? Here I am a couple years later, and some of these contracts have paid me almost six figures each. Um, and I'm not saying that to brag. I can show you the receipts if you'd really like to see them, but I tell you that as a form of motivation and inspiration. Because if I can do it, if me sitting here in on top of my dog, you know, just regular old John can get these kind of engagements, you can too. You can too. And I really want to be able to make that happen for you in 2023. Okay. So if you're interested in this kind of process, the coaching that we put together, each program, it's an amazing group of people that come together to support each other so we can refine those ideas, so we can actually figure out what those opportunities are. As I may have mentioned before, the TED Global Idea Search is one of the best ways that I know of for you to land a TED Talk, right? Last year, I was so thrilled with Lila, my homegirl, Lila Danolo. I believe that's how I say her last name. We'll just call her Lila. She became a finalist for the TED Global Idea Search. And so we are keeping on, we're pushing on, we're making these things happen. Our good, one of our participants, Poonam Saxena, she landed at TEDx Ocala. So if you want to check out these TEDx talks that we've already helped people land in the past couple of years, you can go to ignite.dondrefraser.com, ignite.dondrefraser.com, and you'll be able to see some of these amazing. Oops, let's see here. There we go. There we go. Be able to see some of these amazing accomplishments from people that we've worked with. And you know what? Some of these people have not had public speaking experience. Some of these people came to me and they knew that they had a message that they wanted to share with the world, but they weren't exactly sure how they were going to do it, right? You do not need to come to me with a fully crafted idea or with a fully crafted speech. I want you to come with me with your passion, with your ideas, with your motivation to land a TEDx talk and to get paid for your worth in 2023 and beyond. Okay. So if that's you, I definitely want to hear from you, because this is, this is life where, it's time for me to be able to serve as many of you as possible. Okay. So I definitely hope that I see you. Today is the last day, if you're interested in the cohort, which starts in January 2023, the last day to book your calls. To submit your application. We'll be taking calls up until the very end of the month. Okay. So if you are interested in this process, make sure that you at least drop me a message today, because the cohort's starting to fill up, y'all. So let's go and see if we have any questions. Let's see what questions we got today about getting paid your worth as a speaker. Let's jump over to, hello, Facebook user. Unfortunately, I can't see who you are because it looks like you may not have given permission yet to StreamYard. But if you just want to put your name in the comments, I'll be able to give you a shout out. Let's go ahead and check IG. My family on IG. Any questions are popping up for you all? Let's see. Okay. Okay, so I have a question here about stage time. How much stage time do we need to actually get paid to get paid as a public speaker? Okay, great. So going back to like the main motivation, if you're just getting started out, I want you to use your stages for exposure and for stage time. And not only that, stage time is great, but I also want you to think, if you're doing something for free or if you're doing something for cheap, I want to make sure that, this should be a whole other live in and of itself. I want you to do a couple of main things that's going to help you to amplify your brand even quicker. Okay. One of those first things is I want you to ask to see if you can get a video from your speaking engagement, a video of your speaking engagement. Now, what I did for every single one of my speaking engagements was I just had my camera, I had my phone, I had a little tripod, and I filmed every single one of my presentations. Okay. Now, sometimes at colleges, universities, corporations, they already have that stuff built in. They have the cameras, they have like all the different angles that you need. So what I want you to do is actually ask them for them to record it in high definition. Make sure that you get their copy, get your own copy, because these are the assets that you're going to start to use when you start to market yourself. Okay. You're going to use video, you're going to use testimonials. So every single time that you go, if you're doing a free gig, I want you to think about how can I actually like leverage this into some type of marketing material, either as a referral, as a video, or a written testimony, or a written referral to somebody else. Okay. So the first couple of gigs that you have, that might be the main thing that you want to work on, is actually like making sure that you do a kick butt job, and B, that you can leverage it for some type of marketing content. Okay. That's a that's a great question, and on something that I will definitely um, get into a little bit more in one of these following live streams. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Any other questions? Did you all enjoy today's session? The seventh. Uh-oh. Life is happening over here. Woo! I'm just throwing lighters at people, throwing lighters all over the ground. Have you all enjoyed the 7 days of Igniteness? Yes? Yes? All right. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you all, hanging out with you all. I hope that hello, William. So great to see you. Oh, oops, looks like I have a couple more questions. My bad, my bad. Let's see. Okay, great. So, how do you go about framing to these larger organizations, or how do you start? So, when you're talking about like framing your content, I see that you're talking about alternative views. Tell me a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more about what exactly you're looking to pitch to these larger corporations. I believe that might be Sandrine. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more. And while you're putting that in the chat, one of the things that I would say is that sometimes when it comes to larger organizations, they can tend to be more conservative in terms of who they want to bring in and what it is that you can talk about. Okay. So one of the things that you'll want to do is actually see like who has spoken about what for this organization or for this corporation. So for example, when I was at American Express. Okay, great, great. Now I see what's going on. So when I was at American Express, I was part of the HR division. And I know you worked at American Express? Yes, child. It was a whole nother time in life. Okay, it was a whole nother time in life. But yes, I was at American Express. And the interesting thing about my time there is I was responsible for the team that brought in outside speakers and outside consultants. Um, One of the major contracts that I remember looking at was for a group of people who did improv. They brought in improv actors from the UK for that matter. Um, and the contract was for about $200,000. Yeah, about 200, somewhere between 200 and $300,000. And I had no clue that corporations even brought in improv actors. Um, and so, but they understood the value that doing improv could have on just like the free flowing community aspect, the community feel for their employees. Right now, I bring all that up to say that sometimes there's going to be topics and things that are very much within reach, but any time that you feel like something might be controversial, it's going to be a harder sell. Okay. So another quick example is I remember one time I was giving a presentation about storytelling and leadership in Atlanta. And at the time, it was right around the time when Colin Kaepernick, the football player, was sitting down and was kneeling during the national anthem. And I remember bringing this up during the presentation. And sure enough, during the presentation, I had some people who were just like crossing their arms, leaning back, and not happy with what I was talking about. Mind you, I was not advocating for Black Lives Matter. I wasn't advocating for Colin Kaepernick and what he was doing, but I was mentioning this as part of what it meant to be a leader and what it meant for him to stand as a leader. Okay. So all that to say that at the end of that, for the most part, I got a lot of positive reviews, but I did get some negative reviews with people saying that, oh, she was too political. Okay. So the reason why I bring these up is sometimes if you feel like you have something that is not verifiable, something that's not backable by science, something that might be controversial, you might want to sway away from that into something that you feel like is a little bit more universal, if you will. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that this is helping you to really understand. Yeah, like things like spiritual practices might be a really hard pitch for a corporation, unless it's that their values are really intrinsically connected to this idea. However, it might be something that you should just slightly, instead of talking about spirituality, what if you were talking about like mindfulness, right, or being present? Okay, so some of the same philosophies and some of the same ideas can be put into a different container, which that way, because people will hire and will do want people to understand, how can my employees take care of their mental health? How can they communicate when they need to take a break, right? Things like this. So you might want to just like package it in a way that would make sense to you, to an ideal audience. Okay. So that's all absolutely. Speaking of spiritual practices, what is up, Stephanie Arnold in the house? We were just talking about how you can remix something like spiritual practices that may be a little bit too woo-woo for a corporation, but absolutely could be packaged into mindfulness or um, uh, into mental health, right? Something that actually makes sense and that people in that space are booking. Okay. So yes, exactly, Sandrine. We want to remix it. We want to remix it. Oh, okay. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. Great question. Great question. I hope that was a good answer too. I hope that was a good answer. Okay, let's see here. Let me see if I have any other questions over on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. Stephanie Arnold, listen. We're talking about ideas that ignite. Ideas that what? Yes, child, ignite. Today we're breaking down specifically how much people can get paid for public speaking. And as somebody who has spoken at I know that you've spoken at foundations, you've spoken for fundraisers, you've spoken at major corporate events, right? And the beautiful thing about the time that you've actually spent working and putting together your unique proposition, your unique message, is that you're able to like now take that to wherever, the book, Netflix, right? All these different institutions, right? I know that okay, thanks. I'll come back to it later. Thanks. Yeah, so to be able to actually, I think there's an immense value to actually taking some time and actually crafting it in a way that makes sense for you, that you can actually put out and package it to the world, right? You are in the process of packaging your stuff up so you can put it out into the world, and so that it actually can make you a decent living, to be quite honest. So nowadays, for me, speaking is only one of my main streams. A lot of my other streams come from coaching, and from doing other things and consulting. But speaking, it is such a great thing to be able to have people know your worth, to have people respect you, and have people like want to come on and just join you on this in this process. So thank you, cousin Sandrine. Thank you. I feel you. Y'all are just great today. Woo! All right. All right. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. Of course, Pat, like this, like I just want people to know that like it is possible. It is very, very, very much possible. I'll never forget when I just started seeing people who were being paid 15, 20, $25,000 for these keynotes, and being traveling around the world. At this point in my life, I've been extremely blessed. I've traveled from South Africa, South Korea, India with the moth, Kenya with the moth, like just so many different places, because people are always looking for you. They're looking for people who can connect with their audience, who can inspire their audiences, because they can't do all the work. They can't do all the heavy lifting. So this is a reciprocal love kind of a thing that we're talking about here. Okay. Okay. So question from Instagram: how do you find the right people to pitch for new audiences? Mm, mm, mm. Okay, the right people to pitch for new audiences. I'm going to break this down in two different ways. The first way is going to be on social. Okay. Now I know that this is a very, you're like, oh, here we go with the social media. But let me tell you, social media is going to be one of the fastest, best ways to reach absolutely brand new audiences. Okay. I don't care if it's on Instagram, if it's LinkedIn, if it's, Clubhouse, whatever that might be. But that is going to be the very first platform that a lot of people should consider. Stephanie, I think that you're a little bit past that, so I'm going to get to another strategy in just a second. But I think that for a lot of you who are listening to this, the social media that you have is going to be your number one platform for actually getting your voice out there. Okay. Right now, I'm streaming on 4 different platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Okay. So this is going to be going out to a whole slew of different people. Okay. And what I've started noticing is that people will come and be like, hey, I heard you on Instagram. I don't know how the algorithms work. I have no clue how these algorithms work, but I do know that they send it out to some of the right people, right? Look at the way that we connected. We connected on Clubhouse, right? So I think for a lot of people, we want to leverage, because a lot of people who are watching the stream, they have more time than they have money. Okay, they have more time than they have money. So what you can do is you can start leveraging social in different ways, talking to people in your social network, posting about things that you talk about, showing your expertise, showing your face. The number one way to really accelerate your public speaking in front of others is to articulate your value to others on social media. Okay, so that's one of the first things. The second thing that I want you to think about are different live events that are now back on popping, right? I know that the two of us spoke a little bit about Renaissance Weekend. We talked about a little bit about like reality, that trip that I went on. These are all just opportunities to continue meeting, um, meeting other people, right? And every time that we have an opportunity to just expose ourselves in a way that's not salesy, in a way that's not marketing-ish, but just as a way that's exposing ourselves to other people, that's when we really start to get the momentum going, right? That's when the momentum really starts going. But what I also mentioned earlier in today's stream were these events where we know that there's going to be ideal listeners and ideal buyers in the audience. Okay. So when I was in Brooklyn, I did this event at, I think it was called the Northridge Festival. It was a music festival. I was paid like $50 for this thing, but there were about 200 people who were in the audience. And I knew that the people who were going to be at this event were going to be people from businesses, nonprofits, corporations. Lo and behold, that's how I got 3 of my gigs in Chanel, right? And one of my first gigs at Spotify. Mind you, this was a Spotify gig that started off in New York and then sent me to Stockholm. They're like, we love the work that you're doing. We're going to send you to Stockholm. I was like, oh, I thought your headquarters was here in New York. Nah, child. Nah. They straight up sent me to Stockholm to go to the exact same presentation that I was doing in New York. Yes, Pat. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like there's just these opportunities, so every time that you get a chance to, be it on social or be it at an event or be it just like, hey, I want to be able to like actually like get my message out there. It's going to be an opportunity to actually present and expand to new markets. Okay. But for those of you who have more time than money, definitely social media, right? Start showing your face, start talking about the things that you're passionate about, start doing your own events, right? Putting together your own events, bringing together people to bring people to you is, whoo, child. You know what? I'm gonna write this down as a whole nother live that we can do in the new year, because attracting people, between social, live events, And then just like other traditional forms of marketing, there's yeah, exactly. Oh, Pat, you heard about me from somebody mentioned me on social. Oh, I would love to send them a lighter, to send them an ideas of a what? Ignite lighter. But yes, it's insane. I think I'm trying to remember the very first time that I went to Kenya. The woman heard about me from something that I had posted on Facebook, and sure enough, I was able to hire two other people for that engagement, right? Um, so I was just regular ass Dawn, was able to hire two people to fly with me to Kenya for a speaking gig presentation. And most recently, in this past year, I was hired to get once again by the people from Google. So I did that one gig that started off, was just like a kind of a test. Next thing you know, I'm hiring a team of, I think I brought in a team of nine or seven of nine or to nine consultants, because once you start to get that ball rolling, it just starts rolling. It just starts rolling. Yours is in the mail. Send me your address. Send me your address. My gosh, I'm being chewed out now by previous students for not sending them their lighters yet. Okay, okay, okay. Just send me your new address. Um, let's see here. We got another question. Oh, so Pat, we met online at somebody else's event. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that I totally forgot. I forgot to mention our podcasts. Podcasts, blog posts, like being guests on blog posts. Um, Anytime that you're able to leverage somebody else's audience is the best way to kind of put this. Um, so a lot of times people ask, well, should I speak at this event, or should I speak on this podcast? They don't have a lot of listeners. They don't really have like that big of an audience. Should I speak at it? Most of the time, my answer, unless you're at a certain point in your business where it is you just don't need it, my answer is going to be yes, because you never know who is part of that person's audience that's going to be like, oh snap, I really like them, and they started following you. Okay. So, for example, right now, I have a business coach to help me figure out what the heck I'm doing. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. um, I met her because she was actually featured on somebody else's podcast, and I was like, I like her style, I like what she's talking about. Ended up following her, and lo and behold, now I'm part of her universe. Okay, so podcasts, guest posting on blogs, any type of exposure that has, like, where you are able to leverage somebody else's audience. Yo, if you think about it, this is the reason why Clubhouse was like miraculous. Everybody that I knew in 2021 was coming from Clubhouse, because we were all congregating on the platform. We were all like going into the same rooms around public speaking or TED or TEDx or whatever it might be. And from there, we were just like able to like connect and grow and and build. So anytime that you're able to get in front of somebody else's audience, uh, utilize it. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna. And if you guys have other topics that you want me to touch base with in the New Year's, just go ahead and send me a DM. Send me a DM. Would love to continue this series into the new year, because this has been so awesome and so great, and great questions also today too. Great questions. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? And yes, Sandrine, thank you. Yes, I'm not regular. I'm kind of regular. I'm just a little crazy. I'm just a little crazy. Okay. I think those are all our questions. I think those are all our questions for the day, ladies and gentlemen. I so hope I so hope that this was provided some value for you all, that you have a good sense of like how much you can charge, that you know your worth, that you know that you are absolutely of value to this industry, because you are. Um, Please, please, please stop bartering your services. Stop giving away your services for free unless that is where you are in your journey. Okay. We want to make sure that you're getting paid, that you're being respected. You know, times is hard. Okay. It's not time to be playing small with this kind of stuff. Okay, so so I hope that this was wonderful for y'all, and and yeah, once again, if you're like looking to level up for 2023, please let me know. I would love to continue to support you, to be your coach. Just check out ignite.dondrefraser.com, ignite.dondrefraser.com. This has been Getting Paid Your Worth as a Public Speaker. So thank you so much for joining, everybody, and happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy Merry Christmas, all the good things. I'll see you all in the new year. Peace.